What is going on, Halloween horror fans, and welcome back to the Nerdwide podcast. This is episode 132, and I'm so glad we've returned to form for our Halloween movies because I'm going to let you know, not one of these scared me at all. So, ladies and gentlemen, we made it. We have made it. God, 'cause still recovering from last week, by the way.
There's two more to go, though, Tyler.
That's true. Well, we got one more week. I'm sad to see it go. I am with you, though. I think March, April, whatever is halfway to Halloween, we should potentially do a 4-movie watch along thon.
Yeah.
Halloween in April or whatever it is, kind of thing. So I'm really excited. But I'm your host, Tyler Haynes, with my good friend and horror aficionado, Chris Rivers. Listen.
It's happening.
I'm upset we haven't watched Scream 2, 3, and 4 before watching this one. We have to apologize as well. We've been saying Scream 7 for months, and nobody has called us out on it. It's Scream 6, all right? We don't have any advanced copy of the new movie that is going to be coming out or anything like that. It was Scream 6, all right?
Yeah, so one thing that threw me was, number one, it came out so long ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just in the mindset that, oh, yeah, the new one's 7.
Right.
They're talking about 7.
Mm-hmm.
And the collection I have has I think it has a different cut of one of the movies. So it says Scream 5 film set.
Oh, so that's what you're thinking. You know we had the one last year.
Yeah.
So the requel or whatever they call it. God, these movies are so good with how they do it. But we don't have time for that right now. We'll get there, all right? Let's give our TV shows their time to shine, ladies and gentlemen. But before we even get close to that, quick housekeeping. Don't forget to subscribe to either our YouTube or podcasting service of your choice. If you enjoy the show, make sure you leave us a thumbs up on whatever YouTube or podcasting app you do use. If you do not enjoy what you see or hear, make sure you leave us a comment down below and let us know what's broken. We can't fix anything. We don't tell us it is broken. If you want to do more, you can always go to patreon.com/nerdwide. 3 different tiers for 3 different monthly annual prices there. Each one, of course, increases. You get a lot of goodies. You can tell us what to read, watch, play, do. Not really do, but read, watch, and play. And you also get the episodes early before everybody else does. So that's the place to do that. We only have one more week after this of our Halloween Horrorfest for 2023, and it has been a banging year. Chris and I have talked about it off camera and some on camera, but this has been this is our 3rd year doing this, and this is probably our best year in my eyes of quality of movies. We've got classics, we've got new ones, one that has terrified me. I think as of right now, Poltergeist and Hereditary, the only ones that really have scarred me. Poltergeist, not so much. That was our 2021 Horror Fest. But Hereditary is definitely one that's going to sit with me for a very long time. And I don't appreciate that. And that is on the last week's episode. So if you want to get in on that, that is where you need to watch it. And I was horrified the whole time recording the episode. So we have that going for us. So
it's good, though.
Yeah.
Gets the blood pumping.
Get something, what, I don't know. This will also be the last week of me with a beard. So that's all I'm going to say, and long hair. So Halloween, the Haynes Halloween party is coming up this next coming Saturday. And I'm really excited, and I may or may not, for the next episode we record, dress up in that because it potentially pertains to one of our shows we review and recap.
Oh,
so
I was gonna guess it was Uncle Fester.
Oh no, not this time. Maybe next year. Although next year I am thinking about doing it on Pennywise. So that's one I'm tossing around in the chamber right now. So already planning for next year. But before we, next year is very far away. Chris, how have you been? How's your week been?
Okay. Work went by kind of quick, but then I had to go in yesterday for a little bit. So.
Oh, so no, gross then is what that means.
Yeah.
No,
yeah, pretty much.
Don't like that at all. It's been here at the Haynes household. It's been very busy getting ready for the party. It's been real busy with having little ones during the Halloween season. Anyways, we went to Pumpkin Patch yesterday. So I spent most of my time, played a little bit of the new Spider-Man game, which I'm loving every ounce of it. Officially 100% beat Mirage. I've got one achievement left, but it's a bug for everybody, so I can't get it. I'll revisit it once they patch it, but overall, great game. If you like Basim's character, or if you like the old style Assassin's Creed, it's a must play. So, but I want to talk about our TV shows. Have you watched anything else?
No, not TV wise.
Cool, let's do it then. Let's jump straight in. Gen V, episode 4, titled The Whole Truth. It's WHOLE, and it's kind of sad that I have to tell you people that when it comes to this show. We're going to the reviewgeek.com, and this is by Fraser Fernandez. Once again, we appreciate you, Fraser Fernandez, from the Review Geek. Let's see. Episode 4 of Gen V begins with Indira and Dr. Cardoza examining Sam's cell after Sam and Emma had fled. They notice the trail of bodies through the corridors through which the two made their escape. Indira notices a small shoe at the drainage pipe and realizes this is possibly Emma. The scene switches to Andre, Marie, Jordan, and Kate searching for Emma using the GPS, but only finding a bloody tracker by the river. They leave and hope to find more clues on Emma's whereabouts later. The scene switches to Emma regaining consciousness while Sam sets her on a table at an old drive-in movie place. He thanks her for rescuing him and decides to take help from Luke to save them. Emma eventually tells Luke him that Luke is no longer alive. Listen, I don't know where it's like everybody else is. Not a lot of drive-in movie places anymore, which is just kind of sad because those are like a classic times to do it. Like because you either watch 2 movies back to back and you go there at night. Mm-hmm. Oh man.
Some people didn't go to watch movies.
That's true. If it depends what show you're watching too, they'll show you what they're doing. This sets Sam into a destructive frenzy before he curls up and beats himself up on the ground. Emma reassures him that she will be there for him, but Sam believes everyone good always leaves him. The scene switches to a trailer of Tech Knight's show. He shoots a segment for the show, questioning the conspiracy behind Golden Boy's demise. I love this bit. And Vought Plus continues to deliver their lineup of television shows. And this idea for a superhero is really, really cool. He essentially just notices things. And like he's got his senses are very heightened. And it makes him like a very good investigative journalist. Yes, we find that out later. And something else that he has an issue with due to that as well. Indira finds Tech Knight in her office and they converse about the recent happenings. He tells her that he knows Luke killed himself after killing Brink in a misguided attempt to save his brother from the woods, and says that he plans to shift the blame to another student. Indira warns him to stay away from the top 5 while doing so. He knows that she has not been telling him and Vought the whole truth and makes demands for Golden Boy's personal data to conduct the investigation. Andre arrives at Kate's room to apologize and tells her that his dad has known about the woods the whole time. Marie approaches Rufus, a psychic, who asks for help to find Emma. So I have been watching Supernatural. It's been my show while I'm working. And Rufus looked very familiar to me. I couldn't find out why. And then I was like, oh, he's Jack. He's Lucifer's son in Supernatural. I was like, oh, that's kind of weird that, because I have just now got to that season where he's in. That's weird that's how I don't know. Coincidences are weird. Let's see. Rufus behaves weirdly and asks Marie to sit beside him to help find Emma. Marie regains consciousness inside Rufus's room with him standing naked. Just then, Jordan bursts into the room and Marie uses her blood control powers to make his penis explode. On the way out, Jordan questions Marie's decisions and tells her that a Tech Knight is on campus and it can be dangerous for her. Top 5, like, bloody, gross scenes. Let's just, in the whole boys universe. And it just kept, his penis kept swelling and swelling and swelling, and then it eventually exploded. Jordan could care less. She was like, that's what he deserves. I was like, all right, because he was essentially raping these girls. Honestly, so sure. He won't be doing that anymore, though, since he is now a eunuch. Andre and his dad get ready for the interview with Tech and tell him about the events that happened on the day of Luke's death. Andre didn't want to step on Luke, but his dad had different plans. Tech exploits the moment and puts the blame on Andre, Jordan, and Kate in 3 separate interviews. Andre storms out of the interview with the cameras still rolling. I really enjoyed this scene, and I do like these kind of scenes where he'll ask a question, and then if a different person answers it, and they're in their interviews. It's really cool how they do that. Sam finds that Emma's returned to normal size. They have a crazy discussion and bond about 6 jokes and throwing up. Sam heads out and looking for some more food. Just then, Sam's hallucination begins, and he begins to hear certain sounds. Very similar, I feel, to Black Noir from The Boys.
Yeah.
That's how I kind of saw it in their hallucinations.
I can see that.
Marie arrives for the lecture, and Indira confronts Marie about why she didn't stop by for lunch, asking her what's been going on. She asks Marie what's been going on with Emma as well, as she's been skipping lectures lately. Indira then introduces Tech Night for a lecture. It takes this opportunity to interrogate Marie as part of his presentation. He begins questioning her while also demonstrating to the class. She tells him everything that unfolded that day, and he begins to question specifics of the day, pointing out that her pupil dilation and her heart rate are increasing. Under pressure, Marie admits to not fighting Luke alone and credits Jordan for helping her. Tech claims his proficiency to the class with breaking the victims. Post-lecture, Indira confronts Tech about getting the top 5 involved, and Tech agrees to drop it and threatens to pin blame on Indira herself. He reveals that he knows about Sam escaping from the woods. Later that day, Sam begins to see hallucinations of television's Jason Ritter, who scares him with bad thoughts and tells him that he should go after Dr. Cardoza. The funniest part is every time he talked about it, he said, "Leave me alone, television's Jason Ritter." The whole time, it wasn't just Jason Ritter, it was television's Jason Ritter. So good. It's those stupid throwaway lines that I really enjoy about this show. This sends him into another frenzy, calling Emma's attention. She arrives quickly and tries to comfort him. Sam runs out of the store and leaps away to find Dr. Cardoza. Later that day, Andre crushes the head of his dad's statue and hugs Kate. After the lecture, Jordan confronts Marie about the reveal in class, thinking it was part of a bigger plan. Jordan gets to know it was just a human reaction without any PR planning and expresses that she is scared too. Jordan shapeshifts into a male and the two begin making out, but then Emma storms into the room, tells him about Sam heading for Dr. Cardoza. Tech approaches Indira in a lush green patch as requested by her to avoid any cameras. He thinks she has called him to confess her actions, but instead she reveals that he has been caught on camera on numerous occasions, filling up every hole he sees. Viewers, if you watch the episode, you'll know exactly what that means and how many holes.
Even the air dryer in the bathroom.
That was a little post-credit, little fun little scene there. Dude, it turns over the mop bucket just to stand up tall. Anyways, let's see. Let's see. She threatens that she will release the clips on Instagram if he doesn't stop investigating Golden Boy's matter. Tech then records a video claiming that Golden Boy simply snapped and there was no conspiracy underlying it. Later that night, Dr. Cardoza arrives home and sees Sam viciously approaching his daughter. Dr. Cardoza begs Sam to set them free, but Sam begins to destroy things as he approaches Dr. Cardoza. Just then, Andre and the others arrive, and Andre uses his telekinetic powers to ram a fridge into Sam. This angers Sam and he takes notice of Andre and Marie and recalls that they busted him the last time he tried escaping. They try reasoning with him, claiming they didn't know him back then, but this isn't enough to stop him. Just before Marie tries to split open her palm, Emma tries to convince him they will help once again. Unfortunately, he overhears Andre and a brawl breaks out in which Sam attacks most of them. Emma begins to eat the bowl of spaghetti and marinara, grows huge, and holds Sam down, trying to calm him and assuring him that they will help him. The scene cuts and we see Marie with herself in bed with Jordan.
Yeah. Jordan had changed back by that point too, though.
So who busted them? I don't know. Do we get a good cameo this next time? I don't know that either.
Yeah. So I mean, it's a very good episode. Mm-hmm. I like that we finally get to see Emma go the opposite direction.
Right, because we've only seen her shrink, but we kind of had a theory that she could grow big. We've never seen it. I don't even think she's really talked about it, besides saying that she has to control her calories. But she eats to grow big from being small, but we've never really... I guess it's just been kind of hinted at. That's what she does. And very cool, though. I thought it was really cool. A lot of nudity this episode, which is okay. Some explosions that were crazy. A lot of holes filled. A
lot of plot holes.
Yes, a lot of plot holes.
I do like, though, that even though it took them basically blackmailing him to do it, essentially that's what happened, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like Golden Boy just snapped. Now he had a reason for doing it,
Right. He
but
found
there
out that everyone
wasn't.
he was trusting and that had his back were doing it, but it's still a snap. So,
Right.
I mean,
So really, although he was blackmailed into doing it, Tech Knight tells the truth.
right. So, dude, that tree at the end was so funny. As soon as they showed past it, I was like, oh, I know where this is going. All right, let's do it. Loki Season 2, Episode 3, titled 1893. We're going back to GamesRadar.com by Faye Watson for this breakdown and some Easter eggs at the end. Let's see. The latest episode of Loki sees the return of one Ravonna Renslayer who's been missing since the season 1 finale. After disappearing through that time door, we learn that she found her way to 1868 Chicago with none other than Miss Minutes together. The pair are there on He Who Remains business to execute his last wish and leave the TVA handbook, yes, the one that OB wrote, on a young boy's windowsill. Meanwhile, back at the TVA, OB is in turmoil as he can't get the temporal loom under control because he needs Miss Minutes to override the system. Luckily, there have been 2 hits on Renslayer's tempad, one in 1868 and one in 1893, which Loki and Mobius go to explore. The former doesn't hold much for them, but the latter is very interesting as they end up at a Victorian fair. This is the part where we see from the end of Ant-Man 3, Quantumania. This is the scene we see.
Yep.
There are a few interesting elements here, including a ghost clock haunting the town that's clearly missing minutes, and a fun nod to Thor in a tavern. Oh, I said tavern. However, the most intriguing element is a man called Victor Timely. It is now clear that this is Kang variant and the young boy at the beginning of the episode who was given the handbook, which set him on his path of scientific discovery. He gives a demonstration of his temporal loom to enrapture. I'm going to turn my little... There we go. I turned my little mic down some. He gives a demonstration of his temporal loom to an enraptured audience as he promised that it will power the world, leading to several interested bidders. However, it soon turns out that Timely is a con man who's been swindling people into investing in his unique inventions. With Miss Minutes, Renslayer, and a Kang variant all in one location, Loki and Mobius are chasing him through the crowds. When Sylvia arrives to try and kill Timely, all chaos breaks loose with magic flying everywhere. Amid the madness, Timely, Miss Minutes, and Renslayer make their escape. Now on a ship, the trio starts discussing Timely's inventions as he reveals how influential the TVA handbook has been on his designs. Renslayer then tells him that he actually created the TVA as he shares that they're heading to his lab in Wisconsin. However, it soon becomes clear that Timely has no intention of working with Renslayer as he pushes her off the ship and heads off with Miss Minutes. Now at his lab, it seems even this partnership is in danger as the AI shares her grievances with the variant. She tells him that he should have allowed her a real body as they then could be together. Her unexpected romantic feelings takes him by surprise before Renslayer, closely followed by Loki, Mobius, and Sylvie, all turn up. A fight ensues as the Loki variant gets the upper hand and plans to do away with Timely. It's only his plea that he's not He Who Remains that ultimately saves him, and she decides to spare him after mediating on predetermined destinies. Along with Loki and Mobius, he slips through a time door back to the TVA, leaving Sylvie and Renslayer at loggerheads. Timely is not the only person that Sylvie saves either, as in the final few moments she also lets Renslayer live too. Despite her overwhelming urge to kill her, she ends up shoving her through a time door with Miss Minutes to the end of time. Here, He Who Remains' body is rotting as Renslayer tries to make sense of what is going on. Miss Minutes then reveals that she's been keeping a big secret before cryptically revealing, I can tell you, but it's going to make you really angry. Now, put a pin in that. I want to do these Easter eggs first, and then we got a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
When Loki and Mobius arrive at 1800 Chicago, they notice some statues that say Thor, Baldur, and Odin. Baldur has never been introduced to the MCU, but the character is a huge part of the Thor comics. A lot of good Mobius and Loki back and forth here.
Loki makes a comment before walking away that Thor's not that tall.
Right. It's just very brotherly petty stuff. I love it. Victor's lab is in Wisconsin, which is where his comic book equivalent can be found. That version decided to travel back in time to Timely, Wisconsin in 1901 and settle there. The location where Loki and Mobius find Victor Timely is actually a real place. It's the 1893 World's Columbian Exposition in Chicago, which was a months-long fair held in Chicago to mark the 400th anniversary of Christopher Columbus's arrival in 1492, which he's a complete dick, so, forget that guy. All right, so My brother is, I watch these with him, like we hit play at the same time and stuff like that. He has this theory that Ravonna Renslayer is a He Who Remains variant. Now, it's very, like they're hinting towards that. But here's the thing in which I think it's convincing. It solves two of their problems. Takes Jonathan Majors out of the picture, and it keeps He Who Remains going.
Yes.
So, or keeps Kane going.
There's 7. I pulled up a Screen Rant article. There's 7 theories about what the surprise announcement, I guess, from Miss Minutes could be. One is that Renslayer and He Who Remains ruled the TVA together, and then
which was
decided,
kind of a big mural thing from the past.
Yeah, and he didn't want to do it anymore, so he had her memory wiped. Another is what you said, that she's a variant of King the Conqueror. There's a theory that says they were lovers.
That could be
which
possible.
was kind of teased. There's another that says they're somehow related.
Yeah, I could see like a father-daughter thing.
Yeah,
too.
Potentially. Which makes that romantic tension
Yeah.
in 1893 a little eh. There's a theory that he pruned Renslayer at some point, and that's the big secret.
Yeah.
Probably did it to get rid of her. One of the simpler ones is that Miss Minutes knows of her life on the sacred timeline, and she's going to tell her who she was and
how happy she was and everything.
Yeah, maybe she had a family and all that. And then finally, that Miss Minutes is the one that convinced He Who Remains to wipe Renslayer's memory.
I think that's more likely, like, because it goes to like one of the earlier ones too, that her memory was wiped by King or something like that. I'm curious to see when we find out. We've only got 3 episodes left of this show, anyways.
Right. Which pisses me off.
Yeah, because this is like a phenomenal show, and like I hate to say it, it's leagues better than Secret Invasion. And which is unfortunate. Secret Invasion is one of the lowest rated shows for MCU. But
is that surprising though? Because it has the least to do with heroes.
That's true.
We're not getting to see, like in this, you got Loki, right? If this were being told without Loki there,
it'd be the same. It'd be honestly the same exact thing. The only shining thing you've got is Owen Wilson.
Yeah,
honestly, and so I'm very curious to see where they're going from here, because I really don't feel like we have a very. I think our only objectives right now are fix the time loom and get He Who Remains done, like all his variants done. As far as I can see, like a main plot here. Like we've got the subplot though of what's going on with Ravonna and Miss Minutes. Like what's this secret relation? But the whole season's been pretty much fix the time loom. And I'm like, that's not much of a. Granted, we are halfway through. That's not much of a high risk, high reward kind of situation here yet. So I'm curious to see where we end.
What would be great, and we're too far out, so I don't think they would even do it. I don't think they've cast the role yet or anything, is if we got a cameo to help fix the loom from like a Reed Richards or somebody. Right. And
or even like a variant of him or something.
Yeah, I mean, look, they could have gotten Krasinski to come
just
back.
Bring him back in.
Because they can go back to before he was killed and bring him forward to the TVA.
Oh, there's so much they could do, and it's what's fun about these multiversal things. But Sylvie, all she wants is just live and work at McDonald's for the rest of her life on her branch. That'd be it.
Which, I mean, that's not generally a goal that you give somebody credit for, but in her case,
she's lived a rough life.
Yeah.
Oh man, Goosebumps episode 2. Say cheese. Nope, that's wrong. It's the haunted mask. The haunted mask. Yes. God, I didn't update that. My bad. Going back to reviewgeek.com by Fraser Fernandez, and I'm going to let you know one of my most look forward to episodes out of all these. I really enjoyed the first one, and I'm ready to get caught up on this show because I'm with everybody else. I just can't wait for the next episode.
Mm-hmm.
Episode 2 of Goosebumps begins with Isabel waking up to check the comments on her troll video. She walks into school and gets ignored by everyone, making her feel invisible. She spies on Isaiah and Allison while they change the venue of the party. That night, her brother brings her a vampire costume, urging her to go to the party. He convinces her, claiming he'll help her be more relevant at school. What a good brother. Always trying to help. Isabel heads to the party and finds a voice calling to her in the basement. She heads down to find the strange mask and puts it on. Returning back into the party, no one can stop checking her out. I really enjoy we're being shown new characters that were technically in the show already, but we're seeing this is the cold open essentially is the party, and then the rest of the episode is following Isabella while also doing our other characters as well. And I really enjoy that we're doing that.
Yeah, because she's in what, 2 scenes?
Yep.
We see her at her locker listening to them change the party in the first episode.
And we didn't even know.
And then the mic drop scene at the assembly. I think that's all she's in.
Yep, and we don't even pay attention to anything else, which is really cool. I like how shows do that to us. Like when the killer was there the whole time kind of scenario. And if you go back and rewatch a movie or a TV show, you see the killer throughout the whole thing. I love stuff like that. It's just because it makes you want to pay attention to what's going on in the background as well as what's going on in the foreground. Returning home from the party, she is happy and tries to take off the mask, but it won't come off. After a struggle, she manages eventually to pull it off and heads to sleep. The next day, Margot visits Isaiah to check up on him. She apologizes, but he ignores it and goes on to talk about the cookies. She expresses what she witnessed at the game and asks him to tell her what he saw. Isaiah refuses to tell her anything for her own safety. Come on, man, just tell her. We're going to save a lot of plot lines if you start telling people things. Before heading to school, the mask whispers to Isabel as she puts it in her bag before heading off. Mr. Bratt realizes it's Monday and begins to rush to get to the school. Unfortunately, he realizes he's lost control over his body, but manages to stumble his way into the school. This makes a spectacle for the kids in the corridors, which he says he slips. He heads into the restroom, sees Biddle standing in the mirror, and gets repossessed by him. Justin Long, phenomenal actor. This whole scene, this whole episode, this whole series, I imagine. He did so good. Very well.
The physicality of that.
Yes. He needs more national recognition, I think, honestly. Later that day, Isabel uses her drone by the side of the football field when Isaiah approaches her for Friday's game footage. She leaves the drone on her acquaintance's watch and heads into the AV cart with Isaiah. She opens up the footage and leaves Isaiah to see it. Heading outside, there's a lot of banter here of how they didn't know each other's names kind of thing. It was kind of funny. Well, he didn't know her name. She knew his. Heading outside, she sees Lucas standing on top of the bleachers with the drone hovering right above him. He jumps off the bleachers to grab the drone and brings it down with him. Later that day, the two meet at the student counselor's office, and Lucas offers her $5 a week until it's paid for. We later find out it was $3,000.
Yeah.
Just then, the mask whispers to Isabel, trying to instigate her to argue with her counselor, Lucas. Isabel hurls insults at them before calming down, apologizing, and then leaving. Brutal, but loved it. This is so good. Isaiah visits the locker room to check his locker and is jump scared by Mr. Bratt dressed up as a referee. Another very funny moment. He just blows the hell out of that whistle. Later that day, Colin, the student counselor, visits Nora to talk to her about Lucas's troublemaking and flirting with her.
They're having a fling.
Yeah, and he's very married. And Leigh says, I live next door. How's the garden coming? Since your wife's out of town. And immediately takes his hand off of Nora's hand. I was like,
Yep. Wife's not around.
Isabel gets scolded by her mother for the broken drone and gets grounded. Isabel's mother grabs her phone and laptop and locks them in a drawer before leaving for work. All right, let's tell you. One, she's watching the younger brother. You need the cell phone. Two, I'm sure she uses a laptop for schoolwork. So
and she tells her that I've got homework, and she's like, what'd she say? Do it longhand or something like that?
Do it like back in the old days or something like that. Yeah,
but the teacher may not accept it that way.
That does not work that way, lady. But listen, I also want to live in a town like this, like Maine area, where there's a
Right.
little like doesn't that just seem like a homey
Just
little
like
feel, like Seattle area? Gosh, what am I doing wrong
just
with
like
my
a
life?
little just like a little community in New
Yeah.
England or maybe out
Well,
in Colorado or something. And
wouldn't that be great just to go to a little diner on the lake, or like a little port? Anyways, I thought about that the whole time I was watching the episode. Mr. Brett enters the coffee shop and asks Nora for an egg sandwich. She reluctantly agrees and has a conversation about the Biddle house in the old days. Strangely, Mr. Brett disappears and appears in front of her before taking the packet and leaving. Later that night, Nora tries to talk to Isaiah but gets interrupted by Ben. Ben sends which is Isaiah's dad, and sends Isaiah away and tells Nora to call the other friends. It's time for a meeting. Nora leaves and hands Margot a picture to ask Isaiah about. I think Nora and Mr. Biddle had a little bit of a relationship, is what I want to say, because there was a little bit of some of the things she said. I was like, you had a little bit of a closer relationship than these other kids did. Or parents did at this point. So I'm like, something's going on here. Let's see. Isabel's brother shows her the video posed by Lucas, claiming she can now prove it isn't her fault. She, however, sends him away. Margot shows Isaiah the picture, and he is shocked to recognize the boy from the episode he had at the football field. They decide to go and talk to Nora. Lucas practices skateboarding near the shop. Just then, Isabel walks in wearing the mask and relentlessly attacks him. The mask assumes full control of Isabel, turning her into an hideous monster. Isaiah and Margot arrive on time to save Lucas, and the monster flees. The monster approaches and watches her mother leave for work. Alan hears trashing sounds in the living room and heads down to check up. He sees the monster, sneaks over to the phone, and calls Isabel. Surprisingly, the phone buzzes from the monster's pocket, and it spots Alan. Alan runs off into the storeroom. Eventually, the monster catches him and corners him. He pleads with Isabel, begging her to fight it. Isabel does and fights it and rips the mask off her face. The next day, they throw the mask into a river and watch it sink to the bottom. After they leave, Mr. Brett comes out and pulls out the mask. Isabel and her mother head over to James' house for a meeting. They have a parents-only meeting, and Isabel is sent off to the game room. While the parents discuss Harold, Isabel accidentally shoots a pool ball at James, making him explode into slime. They got a jump scare out of Jamie, by the way. So interesting.
It was a very good episode.
Yes.
Couple small, minute issues. Just my brain was like, no, you've got to put this in there. When Lucas offers to pay $5 a week till the drone's paid off, the guidance counselor should have said, dude, that's going to be over 6 years.
Right.
Like,
said, Isabel said something along the lines
even longer than that, probably,
yeah.
But
because that's $3,000. It's because Isabel even says, you can't even do that paying as a low rate, what should you call it, fast food restaurant worker or something like that.
Yeah, it'd be like what? It'd be 12 years.
Yeah.
And by then, inflation, you're going to owe
right,
more.
Yeah, I'll go more than that. And of course, interest and all that kind of stuff.
But Luke, I'm ready for Lucas to be gone. He's just everything she says when she's possessed in that scene is 100% accurate about Lucas and the guidance counselor.
Correct. And the guidance counselor just took it like it was nothing. I was like, good for you, man, I guess. But you're used to these teenagers at this point.
Well,
but
he knew she was speaking the truth. And
he already knew it. He was fine with it and everything. So very good episode. I'm really excited because that's episode 2, Chris. We've got 8 more. This show is wonderful, and it's another one that I can't wait to get caught up on, because it comes out every Friday, and it's taken the internet by storm. I'm just gonna say that because no one expected this show to be as good as it is.
We're 4 episodes behind, I think.
Yeah, because they dropped 5, I think. So, and that's one that's always the same length as well. But we're gonna get there, listeners and viewers. We're gonna the month of November. We're gonna catch up, and we're gonna catch up. All right, y'all be ready for it because it's gonna be game on for all these shows. Which besides Loki we're caught up on. All right, one we are not caught up. We're just 1 episode behind. That is Doom Patrol, season 4, episode 8, titled Fame Patrol, and we are finally going back to nerdsandbeyond.com by Mal for our recap here. The Doom Patrol and their allies slowly pick themselves up from the dust and rubble of Orquist's remains, reluctantly reassembling to the tune of Skeeter Davis's The End of the World. Casey sits in shock with her dead father Torminox on one side and deceased creator Wally on the other. The rest of the gang stumble around dazed, including Isabel for a moment. Then she gets herself together and trudges out of the crater, beginning to walk back to Cloverton. With few other options remaining to them, the Doom Patrol begin to follow her. They debate whether she is Isabel or Immortus, or both. Dorothy asks Casey if she's okay. Casey doesn't know she's lost her father and her creator, her only opportunity to find out why she was here. Derek stops walking, telling Vic that they just blew up a pocket dimension in the middle of Ohio, so he needs to go check on his kids. Like, one of the best moments here.
Yeah, but
relatable.
Here's the question: how did Derek survive?
Correct.
The only other people that survived have superpowers.
Yep. So, well, it was the bubble is what did it. Because he would protect certain people.
That's right.
And
I forgot about the bubble because they didn't show that in the recap.
Yeah. Which would have been great information to know.
Yeah.
He calls for an Uber. Before leaving, Derek points out that Vic really does love what he does, the superhero stuff. He can go back to being the old cyborg, but maybe he could be his own new version. While the group are debating whether or not to kill Isabel Feathers, a guy in a truck drives by and overhears them mention her name. Isabel Feathers? Y'all found Isabel Feathers? After several months, the body of Isabel Feathers has been found alive. Isabel is interviewed on World of What. In the kitchen of the mansion, the Doom Patrol are gathered around, watching her on TV. Questioned about what happened to her while she was missing, Isabel's voice changes and she goes off into a creepy monologue about time and space and death to being just an illusion. Like, every time she does this, it's so funny to me. And she just rewinds it all. The Doom Patrol cringe, and Cliff questions whether this is what they're going to do now. Spend their old age watching supervillains on television. I don't see anything wrong with it. You know, that sounds like something good to do, I guess. On screen, Isabel seems to be losing it. She looks distressed, and with little more than a lift of her hand, she reverses time so she can answer the question again. No one seems to notice other than Rouge, who senses that something is off. She tells the group that she had a strange feeling of deja vu, but no one seems overly concerned, debating whether they should just leave Isabel alone. Except for Cliff, that is. He has a sudden moment of memory and goes to check the freezer where there should be a frozen zombie butt. The one he couldn't bring himself to kill back before the mid-season hiatus. Yes, Chris. Back in January. Except, of course, the zombie butt has long since escaped. Cliff curses and makes up an excuse about looking for ice cream. On screen, Isabel makes a mention that the Doom Patrol, who found her, of course, will likely be at the parade in Cloverton that's being thrown in her honor. Rita thinks that they're a chance to go and check things out. Rouge and Vic agree, but Janice has her own issues in her head, or not in her head as the case may be. And Cliff stops off with her, saying they're too old for this. Larry is too morose to help, telling Rita that maybe they should face it that they lost. He has to figure out what to do with the little time he has left. Meanwhile, Dorothy takes Casey to see her father's spaceship. It's a little decrepit, and Casey's a bit baffled to be told it runs by feeding apples to a goat. Dorothy tries to talk to Casey about her feelings again, but Casey doesn't know. She's never felt these real-life feelings before, but she doesn't like this one. Dorothy tells her that grief can be a gift like smell and taste. It lets you know that you are alive. She gives the spaceship to Casey so she can go anywhere she wants to. Casey decides she needs a new mission and agrees to assist Dorothy with helping the Doom Patrol as they deal with losing their longevity. Elsewhere, Jane is struggling, lost in her own head once more. She cries out for help, lost and unable to find a station in the underground. When she shouts for help, Casey appears. Help! She can do that. Jane is irritated and astonished, coming back to herself and immediately questioning how Casey got inside her head. Casey doesn't know what she means by that. Dismissive and visibly shaking, Jane leaves. She soon runs into Casey again, though. Heading back to her bedroom, she finds Casey there with piles of the blank puzzle pieces Jane has been struggling with before the hiatus. While Casey is reintroducing herself, Jane is distracted by the pain and noise in her head, and she yells at Casey for trying to help. Losing her temper, Jane tells Casey that she is not real. She is just a nosy, fictional girl who organizes other people's stuff into random piles. But as she leaves dejected, Casey tells Jane that the piles are not random. She divided them up by color, while Jane is confused, looking at all the pieces. I think that's all her personalities, and she's got to put all the puzzle pieces back together to bring them all back. And of course, she's going to need Casey's help for that. So, pretty cool though. Nice little moment here. A while later, Jane approaches a melancholy Casey as she sits in one of the window seats. Slowly, the two begin to chat and relate to each other as women with similar, don't quite exist experiences. Cliff searches for the defrosted zombie butt but has no luck. Listen, I love this is how Mal does her reviews. She breaks them up in storylines and puts them together where they need to be. But she breaks them apart where we're not just saying this happened, this happened, this happened. We're just all kind of together. Good job, Mel. Cliff searches for the defrosted zombie butt but has no luck. Dorothy comes across him leaning on a table, cursing his aging and his Parkinson's as he struggles. She hasn't seen anything small and dangerous. She came to give Cliff a gift. Niles' old wheelchair. Cliff is less than impressed and makes sure to tell her so. He hated Niles and doesn't want a chair. Little future spoiler. Little potential douche canoe material right here. The way he was talking to Dorothy, like horrible. I'm like, hey, Dorothy's fault. She's just trying to help you, dude. And y'all used to be really close anyways. In the process of rejecting the chair, Cliff lets it slip that he once talked to Niles' ghost. He never told Dorothy about it, reminding her that's because he's an asshole and he storms off. His words, ladies and gentlemen, not mine. Yep. Dorothy finds Cliff again later when he's trying and failing to climb the steps. She apologizes for upsetting him, but reminds him that if he's going to be there for his family, he has to take care of himself. She scolds him for being obstinate. Eventually, he snaps, yelling at her that he doesn't deserve it. It would be better for everyone when he's dead and gone. She does not stand for that, though, reminding him that people do love him. When the others get back from the parade, they can work some things out together. Reminded about the parade for heroes, Cliff remembers that there are people that love him and he needs to remind them why. Not quite what Dorothy was going for. Regardless, Cliff announces he's headed to the parade. Larry hides outside of his room, hides out in his room. He lays back on the bed, talking to Keeg, apologizing to him for things not going to plan. He swears to give them all he can till his last breath. That's quite depressing, a disembodied voice tells him. Beside the bed, a glittering cloud of atoms and light appears. It's Rama, or what's left of him anyways. Larry tells Rama that he thought he disappeared on him. Rama confirms that wasn't the case. It's that more than Keeg's power disassembled him. Larry apologizes. He had no idea, and immediately Rama forgives him, but he tells him that he does need his help. Larry despairs. He doesn't know there's a solution. He tells Rama that he made a mess of everything while Rama was gone. He tells him that he's aging, and he knows that Rama understands how dangerous that is for a radioactive being like him. He'll become little more than a dirty bomb in the end. As Larry talks, Keeg raises Larry's arm, puppeting his body and making him touch and reach into the cloud of energy that is Rama. Keeg is onto something. A healthy dose of radiation might be enough to rehabilitate Rama's particles. Larry's bandages begin to fall from his arm as he reaches out to Rama, revealing his scarred radioactive hands beneath. After a moment, it seems to work. A hand darts out of the cloud, grasping onto Larry's, touching him solid. Rama begs him not to let go. With a lot of effort, Larry manages to pull Rama through the cloud, reassembling him. Rama stumbles into the room, into Larry, who hangs onto him tightly. They hug, laughing in relief before they tumble off screen. Tumble is a nice word. I like that she used here. Untangling themselves on the floor a while later, Larry and Rama talk about what happened in Orkwood and why Larry didn't follow their plan. He tells Rama that he wouldn't understand, but Rama quickly works out that it was Keeg. It was too impulsive a choice to be just Larry's doing. Rama reaches out and holds Larry's hand, still without bandages, and tells him there is no shame in believing in miracles. He always has. Larry promised they'd find another way. Larry tells Rama that he needs to find a home for Keeg. Their discussion about Larry mentally penciling Rama in as a foster parent for Keeg, if needed, is interrupted by Cliff knocking on the door. He wants to go to the parade, and he needs his help walking. The parade preparations in Cloverton are in full swing. Isabel Flowers is the center of attention, at least until her rescuers, the Doom Patrol, arrive. The mayor makes her way over to greet them, real superheroes in Cloverton. Isabel is upset that they are getting attention instead of her, as she yells a storm brews until she reverses time and tries again. Once again, though, no one seems to notice other than Rouge, who senses something isn't right. Rita and Isabel then end up on the World of What together. Rouge and Vic watch from behind the scenes as the two snipe at one another, trying to steal the spotlight. Rouge tries to convince Vic that something is wrong, but even when Isabel uses one of her time loops to threaten Rita for stealing her spotlight, Vic doesn't pick up on it. Afterward, Vic questions Rita on what she thinks of Isabel. Rita is drugged enough on fame that she's willing to let Isabel go for now. She also tells Vic that she should still do big things. He may not want to be Cyborg, but she shouldn't have to stick around. He shouldn't have to stick around the aging Doom Patrol. While they talk, Rouge approaches Isabel. She confronts her about being evil and calls her Immortus. Isabel flips once again, her voice changing as she challenges Rouge for daring to utter her true name. Then she rewinds once more, and Rouge is back to calmly approaching the gazebo where they spoke. This time, Isabel flounces off before they can talk. The parade begins as the Doom Patrol soak in the crowd's adoration. They confess a few things. Larry that he's dying and Mr. 104 is destabilizing, and Cliff that he didn't kill the zombie butt. Unfortunately for Isabel, who thought she was being given the key to the city, it turns out the mayor just wanted her to present it to the Doom Patrol who saved her. A lot of people have come to see Cloverton's superheroes. There's even a parade balloon of the Blob. In fact, they're going to the name today, Doom Patrol Day. Doom Patrol Day, Isabel is horrified and furious. Doom Patrol Day, she repeats over and over before letting rip with her sonic screams again. The same sound as when she destroyed Orquith. Done. Zo.
Why did the float of Miss Blob look like a turd?
Dude, it looked horrible. Like, that's never going to be an Macy's Day Parade. It really did, though. Like, it was very not good. And I hate that she's the Blob, too.
It looked like a smushed poop emoji.
Yes. Yeah, that's exactly what it looked like.
Just splatter.
Which is very funny because this whole city hated the Doom Patrol for many months. So, but here we are. We rescued some random Isabel flower.
They will again when the zombie butt returns and starts
the apocalypse.
Yeah. I'm wondering what triggers us to get them in their normal forms.
That's what I was wondering when at the beginning of the recap. I was thinking the same thing. Because we do get Brandon Fraser, we do get
Bomer.
Yep, and I'm curious to see when we do get that though, because that's gonna be a low budget episode because they don't have to use all the CGI and stuff. Not really CGI, just the costumes and time it takes to apply them, stuff like that. I'm right there with you though. Good stuff though. We are continuing on. We've got that's episode 8. So I got 12 episodes. We got, what, 5? 5 more left? Only done 1, though. So, great. 9, 10,
4.
11, 12. Yeah, 9, 10, 11, 12.
4.
9, 10, 11. Okay, I can't count. You're right. Math was never my strong suit, okay? Anyways, let's do our heroes in Douche Canoe. We started off with Douche Canoe last week. Let's start with heroes. We'll start at the bottom. Doom Patrol. Ooh, you could say not Jane, Casey, or why can I not remember her name? Dorothy. But if we did those, we'd have to do them together because they both equally were trying to save the day there.
Yeah.
Other than that, there was nothing really crazy that happened there.
No, I feel like the things that they did, we haven't seen pay off yet.
Correct. So we'll put them on the wayside for now. Goosebumps.
You could make a case for the little brother.
Yep, Alan.
Isabella's little brother, Alan.
Yeah, because he's the only one that really did anything.
Yeah.
Loki. Which was a very weird episode because we didn't get a whole lot of Loki and Mobius this time. We had a couple little jib-jabs, but that was it. Not Miss Minutes, not Ravonna.
You could maybe say Sylvie because she lets him live.
Yes, we could. Because she spared 2 lives.
Yeah.
I like that. She's really the only thing that did anything anyways. Gen V, we could say Emma.
Yeah.
Because she saved the day at the end.
Mm-hmm. Well, and even sneaking in to try and save Sam.
Yeah, from last episode. Okay, so I'm between Sylvie and the Emma at this point for me.
We could just combine them and say Sema.
Well, who was more heroic though? Out of those 2.
Well, I mean, Emma had to grow to like 12 feet tall and be naked in front of
Right.
everybody. So
I'd say Emma, because Sylvie just went against her better judgment and didn't do anything. Not really heroic.
it was more of an inaction than
Yes.
action. Yeah.
Okay. I'm down for that then.
Emma.
All right. Emma for the first time this season. Now, Douche Canoe. Gen V.
There's always a lot of options with
Yes.
the boys or Gen V for douche canoes.
Tech Knight.
Definitely. I mean,
Yeah.
he's
Randomly trying to plan a fall guy on these people.
yeah, and it was going to be the dean.
Yeah. Which, her hands aren't clean either, though. So.
No, but she didn't do. She didn't have anything to do with this. So.
I think Tech Knight's probably a good one here. Everybody else didn't really do much in the show. I feel like
I don't know.
We didn't have what's her name recording her apologies or anything.
Well, you did have the what's his face, the psychic, who's
oh my God, yes, Rufus. Completely forgot about him. Okay, yeah. So Tech Knight or Rufus for sure. Let's put them in there. Loki. I don't like. I want to say Miss Minutes or Ravonna, but I also feel like they didn't do enough douchery here to warrant any of it.
They feel like they're doing what they're supposed to do.
Right. I mean, they're just doing a plan that was laid up ahead of them, and it wasn't really, and it's nothing douchey yet. Like all they did was drop off a book and then try to get him to go to the TVA.
I have a feeling that we could see that storyline end up where both sides are working toward the same goal.
Yep.
And they just don't realize it right now.
I could see that. Goosebumps. You could make a case for Isabella.
Yeah.
Because of the scene. Although she didn't say anything that was untrue.
I think Lucas is a better case.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for destroying the whole thing and just not even caring at all about any of it.
It doesn't bother him. He was like, I wouldn't have destroyed it if I knew it was yours. I thought it was school property.
Right.
Like,
yeah, come on, dude. That doesn't make a right turn, buddy. All right, Lucas. And then Doom Patrol. I want to say Cliff, if we say anybody for this one.
Well, he does admit he's an asshole.
Yeah, well, that's true. Oh, you could say Cliff and Jane then as well, because Jane was very rude towards Casey.
Yeah.
When everyone's just trying to help each other. So, I mean, God, I'm okay with Rufus because date raping women is never okay in any book. Right. So, but this with his one and only, I'm sure his one and only count of Douche Canoe. So, I'm okay with that.
Well, to be fair, he got what he had coming to him.
Correct. So this is our, as it sits right now,
Worst
we've got
blue balls ever.
Right. Who was Derek? Oh, so we've got one from each show right now for hero count. Besides Goosebumps, we got Mobius has got one, Derek one, and Emma one. Douche Canoe, we've got Marie one, General Docs one, and Rufus one. So two, again, really easy to do the boys in Gen V universe. Yeah. Oh, man. All right. Releases this week for my wife and Chris. Thursday, October 26th, American Horror Stories Season 2 drops on Hulu.
So good.
So,
I have not started watching, by the way, the new season.
She is 2 episodes behind, I believe, of the new season.
I want to get to a point where I can binge it.
It's one of those shows.
Because I don't know if I'll be able to take Kim Kardashian.
So,
I'm hoping that they kill her off pretty quick, but I have a feeling they'll keep her around.
Yeah, she's probably one of those recurring characters just because she brings in money and eyes. And all comes down to the bottom dollar. Always. But that is all I've got, sir.
On to movies then, huh?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did you watch anything this week?
No, it's just very busy. I want to watch some Spider-Man movies just because of the game, but
yeah.
But I don't know if I'm ever going to have time for that.
I was hoping to binge all the Scream movies leading up to.
Yes, what we talked about that when we watched it. And I'm like, I feel like I'm missing out on stuff, which I
Yeah,
know I am, and I'm going to have to go back at some point in my life because we watched one last year because we watched the fifth one last year
right.
as well. So we watched it. Um, and so, I mean, there's technically like 3 or 4 movies that I have not seen.
Yeah,
So,
but I didn't have time.
no.
So I did watch one other film though. I watched The Little Girl Who Lives Down the Lane, which
This
is from night.
sounds horrendous.
Which actually it's not a bunch of gore and stuff.
Okay.
It's 1976. Jodie Foster and Martin Sheen are the two big names here. She was 13 at the time.
Hmm.
I don't remember how old he was at the time. I think his character he plays is like mid to late 20s. She plays a 13-year-old, and his character is a real creeper. Like he comes around on Halloween, he gets there ahead of his two stepsons.
Hmm.
I think they're stepsons if I remember right. And he basically tries coming on to her and everything. He's known in the town for that.
Oh.
His mom knows, so like whenever people hear that he went by there on Halloween, they're like asking Jodie Foster, like, "Are you okay?
Oh.
Are you good?" And but she rejected him and she threw him out and all that good stuff. And he gets his in the end. Um, but the whole story is that she's at this house by herself, and she keeps telling people like, yeah, her dad's a poet and he's in his study writing, or he's translating a book. He's in New York with his agent, but she's there alone. You find out during the course of the movie why she's there alone. Um, Martin Sheen's mother is very powerful. She's in fact leased this house to Jodie Foster and her dad. Um, and she comes by at one point and she's very nosy about what's going on. And she insists on talking to Jodie Foster. Her character's Ren. She insists on talking to Ren's father. And she just like she's leasing the house to them, but at the first visit she makes, she's in there rearranging where they've put furniture because she says this is supposed to be here and
Ah,
this is
nah,
supposed to
no,
be here.
lady. Look
So
controlling.
she goes into the cellar to get some rubber seals for some fruit jars. And when she does, the cellar door comes down on her and just cracks her in the head.
Ooh.
And she falls down and she's dead.
Yeah.
She falls down in the cellar dead. So there's a little bit of a body count here. But I did read afterward Jodie Foster does not like this movie.
Hmm.
She kind of disowned it. In part because, much like the Martin Sheen character, apparently the director was also a creep.
Oh man.
There, there is a nude scene in the movie
All right.
where Ren is supposed to disrobe before getting in bed with the 16-year-old who's supposed to be becoming her boyfriend.
Yeah.
The director really wanted Jodie Foster to do that scene, and she was like, "No, I'm 13. I'm not doing it."
Right. Absolutely not.
Her sister, who was like 19 or 20, ended up doing it. They put a wig on her,
Oh.
and so she does the scene. But I think that's a lot to do with why she kind of disowned it. She didn't
I
enjoy
don't
the
blame her.
experience. Yeah. But I gave it 3 stars as a film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Keeping it in the
But
holiday
just,
spirit. Listen, there's a
just
lot of. I know we talked about the Hulu Scream 2023 things that keep seeing notifications for. I went through earlier, and I think I'm going to try and watch some this week. With,
yeah.
this being the last week of everything, so I'm hoping to have some movies for us to talk about. Like there's some weird ones. Like there's Hulu originals that I haven't really heard anything about. I really want to watch. Like there's one called like Sloth October, Slotherfest or something like that, where a sloth is on a rampage killing people. So I mean, I don't know how it goes into the horror aspect of it, but
Could a sloth go on a rampage as slow as they move?
see, I don't know. That's what I want to find out. It's brand new this year. So,
Yeah, took them a while to make it, I guess. Huh?
right.
Uh, all right. So our movies this week were Shaun of the Dead and Scream 6. 6. Well, the camera.
Yeah,
Um, let's start with Shaun of the Dead because it's the older one. Have you seen this before?
I have. Probably
Okay,
one of the only ones on this horror list that I've seen.
yeah, I had seen it before. I had not watched it in years though, so it was
I'm
fun.
right there with it. It's been since middle school since I've watched this one.
Yeah, it was fun to revisit. So, in Crouch End, London, 29-year-old electronics salesman Shaun has no direction in his life. He's disrespected by his colleagues, does not get along with his stepfather Philip, and is dumped by his girlfriend Liz after he fails to make decent plans for a date to celebrate their 3-year anniversary. Heartbroken, Shaun gets drunk with Ed, his weed-dealing slacker best friend, at their favorite pub, the Winchester. At home, Shaun and Ed's flatmate Pete complains of a bite wound from a mugger and berates Shaun into getting his life together. By morning, a zombie apocalypse has overwhelmed London. Shaun and Ed are slow to notice until they encounter 2 zombies in their garden, whom they beat to death with a shovel and cricket bat after several failed attempts throwing household implements
So
and Shaun's,
stupid.
and Shaun's record collection.
Uh,
They devise a plan to rescue Liz and Barbara, Shaun's mother, and then wait out the crisis in the Winchester. They escape from a now zombified Pete in Pete's car and pick up Philip, who's been bitten, and Barbara. And after Ed deliberately crashes Pete's car, they use Philip's Jaguar to pick up Liz and her flatmates, David and Diane. Philip reconciles with Shaun before Philip becomes a zombie. Forced to abandon the car and their weapons, the group sneak through their London neighborhood, running into a group led by Shaun's friend Yvonne. Shaun defends Barbara from a zombie, which he's forced to impale with a swing ball pole. After imitating zombies to get through a horde and reach the Winchester, Shaun and Ed argue after Ed answers his mobile phone, attracting the zombies' attention. After David panics and breaks a window to gain access to the Winchester, Shaun is forced to lure them away using himself as bait. After the group takes refuge inside the Winchester, Shaun discovers the zombies followed him, and Ed unwittingly attracts them by playing on the pub's fruit machine. Whilst fighting the zombified landlord, Shaun discovers the Winchester rifle above the bar is functional. Barbara reveals she was bitten and dies after giving Liz and Shaun's relationship her approval. David attempts to shoot Barbara, but Shaun stops him, causing the group to argue. Shaun accuses David of hating him and being in love with Liz, which Diane admits she knows is true. Shaun, distraught, is forced to shoot Barbara when she becomes a zombie. Further fighting ensues after David states Shaun was right to shoot Barbara. Zombies break into the pub and devour David. Diane rushes into the horde, brandishing David's detached leg, opening a door and allowing it to enter. The zombified Pete appears and bites Ed, and Shaun shoots and kills Pete. Shaun, Liz, and Ed take cover behind the bar, which Shaun sets ablaze. The shells left on the bar ignite, killing several zombies by chance. The 3 take refuge in the cellar, where, realizing they only have 2 bullets left, Shaun and Liz contemplate suicide, while Ed elects to be devoured by the zombies. Shaun discovers a keg lift that opens out onto the street, and Ed volunteers to stay with the rifle as the zombies break in. The British Army arrive with Yvonne in tow, gun down the horde, and take Shaun and Liz to safety. 6 months later, civilization has returned to normal, and surviving zombies are used as cheap labor and entertainment. Liz has moved in with Shaun, and Shaun keeps the zombified Ed tethered in his shed where they play video games together.
Best ending ever.
This has always been a fun movie.
Yes.
They obviously pay homage to a lot of this stuff, like Night of the Living Dead.
Mm-hmm.
You know, his mom's name is Barbara. I love the bit how they foreshadow a few things here and there with references to past zombie movies. I don't think there's a weak spot. I gave this 3.5 stars.
That's exactly what I gave mine.
It's just, it is what it is.
Yeah.
They wanted to tell a zombie story with some comedy and honor the zombie films that came before, and they succeeded. So
It's one of those, like I was saying earlier, that I really like, where they did there's the story kind of in the background as well. of the zombie apocalypse starting to go down,
Hmm.
and it seems like Shaun and what's his name are the only ones not paying attention to what's
Ed.
going on in the world, just because they're playing video games and just drinking and eating and just having fun and working at an electronics store. But it's one of those like
Hmm.
you hear sirens going off, the news broadcast is talking about people getting bit and turning ravenous, and there's stuff going on in the background. It's very very cool. But they go and drink and party all night long before the true zombie apocalypse, and it's done.
Yeah, yeah. I love how, because that's probably what would happen, right? This,
Yep.
I don't. We've domesticated all the zombies,
Mm-hmm. And it won't take
but
long just like that because it only lasts, 2 or 3 days before the army
yeah,
comes in, kills them all, and life goes back on.
but but you could look at it as a message about, because this was 2004, so we're just at sort of the dawn of social media,
Yes.
and you could look at it as a sort of speaking to that, how we've all become zombies. We don't talk as much. We
Mm-hmm.
just stare at our devices, and also it can touch on consumer culture because they're working in the electronics store,
Yep.
and it's so. But a good movie. It's. I mean, it's not on the level of Night of the Living Dead or anything, but it's not supposed to be.
We need to add that to the list. I've never seen it.
I thought we did that last year,
Did we do Night of the Living Dead?
or the year before. Yeah, Black and White. They're coming to get
Oh
you,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Barbara.
yeah. There's one I'm thinking of then. Not
Return of the Living Dead from
who's
the 80s.
no. There's one.
There's Night, Dawn, Day, Land, Diary.
I think it's Days.
There's
What I'm thinking of.
Day of the Living
Day
Dead.
of the Living Dead. I don't know why I always think of like Shaun of the Dead as like a parody of Day of the Dead. I don't know. Is that the one I'm thinking of? I'll remember it, but maybe something to add on. I forgot we did that one because we did that one last year. Because
Yeah.
I watched the colored one, you watched the black and white one.
Mm-hmm.
So, God, that was a good movie too.
Yeah.
Hopefully, I rated that one well.
Nice. Man, that was a good movie. I hope I gave it a good score.
Yeah.
All right, you ready for Scream 6?
Let's do it. I'm excited for this one.
Here, this came out in February.
Mm-hmm.
That's still such a weird time to release.
Why? What's the point?
I mean, if it was set around Valentine's Day, I could understand.
Right, but Halloween was in the movie. I mean,
Yeah.
Ugh.
All right, 1 year after the Woodsboro killings orchestrated by Richie Kirsch and Amber Freeman, Blackmore University professor Laura Crane is catfished and murdered by her student Jason Carvey wearing a Ghostface costume. Jason plots with his roommate Greg to kill sisters Sam and Tara Carpenter to finish the movie that Richie and Amber wanted to make. However, Jason receives a call from a different Ghostface who has killed Greg and subsequently stabs Jason to death. Sam and Tara now live in New York City, with Tara attending Blackmore University alongside fellow survivors Chad and Mindy Meeks Martin, their roommate Quinn Bailey, Mindy's girlfriend Anika Kyoko, and Chad's roommate Ethan Landry. Sam attends therapy with Dr. Christopher Stone and is ostracized in public because of an online conspiracy theory that she was the true mastermind of the latest killings. Quinn's father, Detective Wayne Bailey, calls Sam in for questioning as her ID was found at the scene of Jason's murder, along with a Ghostface mask worn by Richie and Amber. On the way to the station, Ghostface calls Sam from Richie's phone, who then attacks Tara and kills multiple bystanders in a bodega, and leaves behind another Ghostface mask worn in the 2011 Woodsboro killings. At the NYPD police station, the sisters meet with FBI Special Agent Kirby Reed, a survivor of the 2011 killings, and reporter Gail Weathers, who has since written a book on the previous Woodsboro killings, much to Sam and Tara's anger. Little aside there, they actually meet Gail the next day outside the station. They don't meet her, like, she's not in the station.
Yeah, she tries calling at
Yeah.
that one point.
She tells them that she spoke to Sidney Prescott and she's gone into hiding to protect her family. She actually wanted more money than they were willing to pay to appear in this movie.
Would not surprise me.
Dr. Stone is murdered by Ghostface, who steals Sam's file and leaves behind a mask worn in the Hollywood killings. Mindy theorizes that the killer is following the rules of film franchises, specifically the rule that anyone can die while the franchise will still continue. From his window, Sam's boyfriend Danny witnesses Ghostface stabbing Quinn in Sam and Tara's apartment before attacking the group and killing Anika, leaving behind a mask worn in the Windsor College killings. Gail takes the group to an abandoned theater she found while investigating, which has been set up as a shrine to the Ghostface killers, featuring many items of evidence related to previous massacres, now
Damn
displayed
cool.
like film props. Yeah, I mean it's.
That was very, very cool.
I like
And
how
what's
they.
even cooler when we come back to it, but
Yeah,
I really, really, really liked this reveal and seeing all of the memorabilia because it feels like a museum or something we would go to of like
yeah.
horror movies and things like that. I thought that was really, really cool, really well done.
I like how they. I can't remember who asked the question, but one of the characters immediately says, like, "How did all this stuff get out of
Because
evidence?"
that is the same question I asked, and it's like
Yeah,
there were multiple times, and if I remember them, I'll tell you. But there were multiple times. This was one of them. I was like, that doesn't make any sense. But then they said, oh, from dirty cops would sell anything. I said, oh, okay, now that makes sense.
yeah. Well, and yeah, it's an evidence, but if the killer's dead and there's no one to put on trial,
Right then, evidence just disappears.
yeah.
Make a couple bucks.
Yeah. Ghostface calls Gail at her apartment and torments her about the death of Dewey Riley before killing her boyfriend and attacking her. Sam and Tara arrive just in time to stop Ghostface from killing Gail, who's taken to the hospital. The group agrees to meet Kirby at the theater to trap Ghostface. Mindy's stabbed by Ghostface on the train, and at the
Which would
theater,
have killed her.
yeah,
Okay, she gets stabbed in the gut twice. I don't know what's going on here, but she'd be dead.
a few characters in this movie get stabbed in the gut,
Yes.
and it's now if it's a clean one in and out, there's a
Yeah,
chance it might miss.
I get that one, but there were some like he stabbed and then I just went straight up with. I was like, okay, there's no surviving that one. And then Mindy, for instance, like got stabbed twice, and I was like, so
Yeah, and I'm trying to think of the character name. Dad. He spoiler alert here. He does survive at the end, and there's no reason for him to. He's
yes,
he's getting stabbed by two Ghostface multiple times,
dude,
and
blows my mind.
it's just. I'm not gonna lie. I marked it down for that a little bit.
Did you?
Like it just that's
That let them live for core four sakes at this point.
um yeah, that was nuts. Um, the group agrees to meet Kirby at the theater to trap Ghostface. Mindy is stabbed by Ghostface on the train. At the theater, Sam sees a hallucination of her father, original Ghostface killer Billy Loomis.
So cool. One of my favorite moments, like from last movie too, when they did this, and having Skeet Ulrich in it.
Yeah,
Like I love that little nod, which makes me think, Chris, that she's gonna be the killer next movie. Like it's finally going to happen.
maybe,
She's gonna snap. I don't.
maybe.
I mean, I just think it'd be kind of cool. So
We'll see. Uh, taking his knife from the original murders, she realizes they've been locked inside. Two ghost faces appear and attack Chad. Wayne and Kirby both arrive with guns drawn. Wayne attempts to lend credence toward Kirby being the killer, only to shoot her, revealing himself as a third ghost face and the mastermind.
because
His
how did he
accomplices.
get in? That's what let
Yeah,
me know because she made it the whole point. They made the whole point of trying to redirect it being Hayden Panettiere, which Chris, let's have a moment here. Still looking great.
yeah,
So, but when he shows up, I was like, he's the killer because there's no way. And then I called Quinn being one of the killers early on.
his accomplices are his children. Revealed to be Ethan and a still alive Quinn.
I called her in the apartment when they were
Yeah,
going through, like even when they were out beside the school or whatever, talking about who it could be because it's obviously not anybody in the core four. I was like, it's Quinn. I just had a gut feeling and the way she was acting in some of the scenes, but then she got killed. I was like, okay, not her, but it was.
yeah. The trio reveal that they are Richie's family who want to avenge his death. They were responsible for defaming Sam online and plan to frame her for their killing spree. Sam denounces the Bailey family's motives before she and Tara gain the upper hand and fight them off, with Tara stabbing Ethan and Sam killing Quinn. While briefly knocking Wayne unconscious, Sam then dons her father's Ghostface costume, taunts Wayne with a phone call using the voice changer, and viciously stabs him to death. Ethan resurfaces, but Kirby smashes the television set that killed Stu Mocker over his head, killing him. Sam agrees to let Tara live her life more independently, and Tara agrees to go to therapy. As Mindy, Chad, and Kirby are taken to the hospital, Chad should be dead.
So, and here's something. This is like something that bothered me. So, two things here. The one of the moments I was talking about earlier that I'm glad they corrected. She runs up to Chad, takes his oxygen, his non-rebreather off, starts kissing him, and then goes, "Oh, well, you should probably need that." I was like, "Okay, thank you." Very dumb, very teenagery thing to do. But then Mindy starts running up. I'm like, "Girl, you got stabbed twice in the gut. You're not running anything. One, you're not being released from the hospital, no matter what you do." So it was very. It was like, okay, this is little.
Yeah. As Mindy, Chad, and Kirby are taken to the hospital, Sam stares at her father's ghost face mask before discarding it and following Tara and Danny into the city. And that's the end of the movie. This is probably a 4 or it could have possibly been as high as a 4.5 for me, but it's a 3.5.
Oof, okay.
One big thing here. I feel like they wrote themselves into a corner with they wanted Quinn to be there at the end to be part of the trio doing the killing, but they wanted to kill her off. And when her dad is doing the villain thing and explaining how they did all this instead of just killing everybody and not worrying about letting them know how they did it, he says, "Yeah, I just had to get a new corpse. You'd be surprised at how people don't look at you when you're a cop."
Yeah, when you're a grieving father, the first in the room or something like that.
Yeah, but he mentions being a cop too.
Yeah.
And he's like, it's like you're in New York City and we're in the age of police brutality.
Yeah.
You're being watched.
Yeah.
Like it felt like they just had this throwaway explanation for how she was able to come back.
Yeah.
Without having to actually work out logistically how that. It's not like they gave us a flashback and showed us how they made it work.
Right.
Because I feel like they didn't know how to make it work, so they just had that throwaway line of dialogue. So that was a waste. Everyone in the movie was accusing Ethan the entire time.
Which they were not wrong.
They were not wrong.
Thought it was very funny, but I gave this one a 4.5. Jamie gave it a 4. I just really enjoy the Scream franchise, and then having all the callbacks, and then even having the Richie thing, because like it all made sense. How did they get Richie's number? Well, duh, they're his family, and they would. But then the dad made the line of firstborns being your favorite or something like that. And then they panned to Ethan, and he makes that face. I was like, "Oh, this is so funny! I love it!" Like they did a really good job with it. I loved having Josh Segarra in this movie. Instantly thought he was the killer too. I was like, "All right, this is him and Quinn are lovers for real, and one of them's got a backstory to this whole thing." Having Tony Revolori as Jason, of course, we know him from the Spider-Man franchises in the MCU. And the star-studded cast. Courtney Cox, I feel like, did a great job. Especially, I don't think she did all her stunt work, but there were a lot of good scenes with her. Like her with the gun was the best and funniest thing, and her being smart enough to. She says, "Hold her, please." And Ghostface goes, "Wait, what?" It cuts him off, and she calls him, and then just shoots the door. Yeah. Genius! Like I'm right there with you. There was some questionable writing, but there was some good writing into this. A lot of the deaths were a lot of fun. The death with the girlfriend, Annika, when she dies from the ladder, it was such a stupid early 2000s kill. Like just seeing Ghostface just sit there just shaking the ladder up and down, up and down, up and down, and twisting and everything. But it was very good because they showed the whole thing though.
And that would have been one where had they not shown us the result at the bottom, if she had if we gotten the view that the characters see from the windows, and then they'd reveal that she put her arm up to
Yeah.
block her head from hitting, and that she was involved,
That would have been
that
good.
would have
Yeah.
been better.
And you would have had her in a
They
sling
don't.
the rest of the movie when they revealed and everything or something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then that way it explains why she even got close to Chad's sister.
Yeah.
What's her name?
Uh, Mindy.
Yeah, Mindy. I mean, that would explain why she was there.
Yeah.
And
But, you know.
Quinn could have stayed dead, and it would have mattered more, because that would have been a point that could have escalated the killings even further. He's
Yep.
already lost Richie. Now he's lost his only daughter because maybe one of the fake Ghostface just happened to kill him,
Yeah.
or something. Because there's Ghostface all on the subway.
Yep. Which was very eerie. And that was probably
So,
the scariest part for me.
what are the odds that approaching Halloween in New York City, all these people wearing masks, someone else might dress up as Ghostface to kill somebody?
Mm-hmm. They already had copycat killings at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
So.
My prediction for the franchise is that we're gonna see. I could almost see the sisters. What I'd love to see is a reveal where they've manipulated these last two movies. They've manipulated the people.
Mm-hmm.
They've appeared to be victims, but they've really been behind the whole thing.
Right.
And now they just reached the point where now they're going to kill people.
Or if Sam's really the killer, and
Sam's already leaning that way.
yeah, she got that DNA, that Billy Loomis DNA in her.
Yeah, I love the end though, where they're about to kill the detective. She's already stabbed him, and he's on his knees, and he's going to show mercy.
Mm-hmm.
But Tara looks at her and goes, kind of gives her this look like, well, I mean, he did just mastermind all these killings. So then she stabs him through the eyeball.
Beautiful. The one kill, Ethan's kill, was brutal too, with the knife straight to the mouth, and then she twists it and then pulls it out. I was like, oh.
And it doesn't kill him though. That's
No.
the thing. So then he comes back. It's like, look,
No.
he's not that strong.
No, these teenagers are not it.
I know sometimes, in horror movies, the crazier the person is, the more unbelievable strength they have. He's not coming back from that.
Mm-mm.
He's just not. So, but I didn't think Tara would either, right? Where she tells Sam to let her go.
Right.
So
she just falls straight down.
She falls straight down, and then he stabs her in the gut.
Yep. And she's already got an arm injury as well. So, I mean...
Right. And then that's when she just stabs him in the mouth.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, okay, his knife's going to move.
Yep. So, I mean, again, gut kills are almost always fatal. So...
I know, suspend our disbelief.
Right.
But 3.5, yeah. Couple points with the writing that I just couldn't get around. That's it. So next week we are looking at finishing up with The Omen and Dark Shadows.
1-2 punch.
I think you're going to be fine with Dark Shadows because it's a comedy.
Omen's
The Omen,
the Hereditary and The Omen are the only ones I was worried about this year.
I'm very curious what The Omen does for you.
Well, you'll find out Saturday night. So
Because there's nothing scarier in a horror movie than kids and old people.
yeah, valid point. Look at Hereditary.
Yeah.
Naked old people.
Yeah. Everywhere. It's like, oh God, I didn't know things could hang like that.
No.
Notable releases this week, October the 27th. Going to be Five Nights at Freddy's. It's one that Tyler's wanting to see next year for the watch-a-thon.
It's a game adaptation.
Is that the only reason you really want to see it? Because
I've played the game for a little bit. It's not my kind of game.
for a little bit.
Well, it's just because it's not my... Because the first one is you're stuck in a room. You are a part-time security guard for like a Chuck E. Cheese experience game called Freddy's.
Right.
and the animatronics come alive at night. So you can look at the doors, or you can look at the security panels, but you have to manage your electricity so you can close the doors and stuff like that. It's just not my kind of thing.
Yeah.
So that's not bad though. But ladies and gentlemen, one more week to go. And then we're going to revisit back in April. Listen, I'm just going to go ahead and say it, Chris. Let's just revisit some horror movies in April. We'll do 4 movies in April. Or it depends on how busy we are. We might do 2 a week or something. We'll see. But that's a long way away. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you all so much for listening and watching this episode of the Nerdwide Podcast. I really hope you enjoyed the movies as much as we enjoyed them, especially our episodes this week. Make sure you're watching Goosebumps because that show is wonderful. Don't forget to share on all your favorite social media platforms. Even on Threads, we are just at Nerdwide on Threads, so make sure you follow us there. As always, this has been this week's episode of the Nerdwide Podcast, and we cannot wait to finish up our Halloween Horror Fest review of 2023 next week. But until then, stay scary.
Later, guys.